Hello, and welcome to another promising time on Books Splash, the program on which we revel in the beauty of books and rub minds with writers. I am Michael Olatunbosun. Let's set sail once again on the program Books Splash on Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan. The book on the table today is a memoir written by a former First Lady to mark her 60th birthday. The book is titled My Life Like a Rainbow, Reflections and Life Lessons at 60, and written by Dr. Mrs. Florence Ajimobi, wife of the former governor of Oyo State. The book was published in 2019. The author, Her Excellency Dr. Florence Ajimobi, is a wife, mother and grandmother. She is a businesswoman and a philanthropist. My Life Like a Rainbow is her first book. The memoir, My Life Like a Rainbow, is the life story of a woman who was born out of wedlock, raised by a disciplinarian single mother, loved and pampered as a child, and married at 21. The book tells a story of a young Florence whose colorful life was nurtured in Ibadan and made to blossom into the icon that she has become. In the work, My Life Like a Rainbow, she tells us about this in the section on her early life. She writes, and I read, "As a love child, I lived a fairy tale. I got the best from my mom whenever I was with her, and also from my dad whenever I was with him, thus enjoying a privileged and indulgent childhood. I was born at Utagbona, Kwale, today's Delta State, to a teenage but goal-oriented mom and a Lebanese dad. They weren't married. On the 5th of April 1959, I was brought to Ibadan as a 3-month-old baby and subsequently went on to live the greater part of my childhood in Ibadan, Oyo State. Despite being a single parent, my mother got me the best of everything. I got to attend a new private school, Bodija International School, in the exclusive Bodija environment. I had a maid, Auntie Titi, to myself as a child. She took care of me and showered me with excess love. I recall always walking into the house from school with excitement. Whenever I got home and dropped my school bag, Auntie Titi would carefully position me on my chair and move my cute little table closer for lunch. In a twinkle of an eye, she would make me a plate of potato chips with well-garnished scrambled eggs. She was too good. Even as I write this, more than 5 decades later, this memory still brings a huge smile to my face. As I write, I still perceive the aroma that accompanied each plate. Oh, how I loved that dish. I loved good food, and Auntie Titi made sure I always had it to my fill. The book, My Life Like a Rainbow, tells the story of Florence Ajimobi and how she had loved reading books and how she developed the enterprise mindset even while schooling in the Polytechnic Ibadan, where she studied secretarial management at diploma level. This entrepreneurial spirit had started fetching her money. For a while at the Polytechnic, Florence would sell various items to her schoolmates. The program is Book Splash on Splash FM Ibadan, and I'm discussing the memoir, My Life Like a Rainbow, Reflections and Life Lessons at 60, written by Dr. Mrs. Florence Ajimobi. In this work, Mrs. Ajimobi tells us about her relationship with her parents, family, and those who helped to shape her worldview and disposition to life. In the book, the author tells us the life lessons she glimpsed from those whose paths crossed with hers, and how the individuals have mentored her and molded her into the quintessential woman of substance that she has come to be. In the book, My Life Like a Rainbow, Florence Ajimobi discusses her friendship and love relationship with her husband, Abiola Ajimobi. In the book, the author tells the reader how her marriage to Abiola Ajimobi has molded her in this way. Quote, "I was a loved, cared for and pampered child. Therefore, I was used to having my way in all things. My mom, dad and guardian hardly ever said no to any of my demands. My mom scolded me from time to time, but more often than not, I had my way. As a child, I never understood why I couldn't have my way. While this excited me as a child, it became a huge albatross as I grew into womanhood. Thank God for the kind of man I married, who gradually weaned me off that mindset. I can say without any fear of contradiction that the huge difference in our age played a big role in accomplishing. I doubt that a younger man could have achieved this, but my husband did, over a long period, with maturity." End of quote. In this work, the author narrates for us their first meeting, second meeting, how the relationship blossomed, and how he proposed to her. Listen. One particular evening, when we went out for drinks after work, he told me, quote, "Flory, this is my card. I have placed all my cards on the table. I don't need a girlfriend. I just want to marry you." End of quote. Naturally, his sweet talk swept me off my feet. Listen to this brief reading session from the book by the author.
I'm going to read page 59. As soon as I completed my program at Ibadan Poly, I got a job with an insurance company called Femi Johnson and Company. The organization had come for a head count while I was still a student, picked the best 5 graduating students and employed us, posting us to the cities where our parents resided. I resumed work at their office in Marina, Lagos in 1979, the week after I finished exams and was able to move my things back to Lagos. In the opening weeks of 1980, I met my crown, the man on whose wings I fly, my bestow and friend for life. And though our first meeting was not that eventful, we met again a few months down the line and became friends. You know, a defined relationship where we both knew what we wanted.
You're still listening to Book Splash on Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan, and I'm discussing the memoir written by Mrs. Florence Ajimobi. The book is titled My Life Like a Rainbow. In this book, the author narrates to us how she was able to cope with the challenges of getting married early, managing the home front, playing the role of wife and mother, daughter, daughter-in-law, and at the same time keeping alive her entrepreneurship flames. In this work, the author tells interesting tales about transiting from the wife of a chief executive in the corporate world to the wife of a politician, a senator, and a governor. Speaking recently about the author and the book, Dr. Mrs. Omolara Smith stated that the book, quote, teaches various values on understanding God's purpose for every life, discovering your talent. It teaches attributes of love, long-suffering, hard work, faithfulness, courage to stand your ground, conviction about what you want in life, handling the effect of rejection, overcoming pain through forgiveness. End of quote. She also says it is a book written with such clarity, simplicity, and openness. It is undiluted because she gave us everything. For Mrs. Dolapo Oyedipe, the book is a compelling must-read for everybody. And of the author, she opined she has painted the good, the bad, the ugly, and the hilarious. This book is the story of a woman who defied the odds to perpetually surmount obstacles to become an accomplished and distinguished woman. As a perceptive reader, I described the book as a down-to-earth, matter-of-fact, self-confessing catalogue of a life that couldn't have been lived otherwise, to show that the various lessons packed into the book by the author must be fully imbibed by all. The author's unpretentious point of view and no-holds-barred expose has lessons for all, male and female, young and old. The book is written in smooth, flowing, first-person point of view and in simple, easy-to-read English for everybody. In fact, the author has made sure that you couldn't put the book down until you finished reading it. The program is Book Splash on Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan. It is time to meet the author of the book, My Life Like a Rainbow, Reflections and Life Lessons at 60. In this conversation, Her Excellency Dr. Mrs. Florence Ajimobi discusses her life at 60, her book, her married life with her husband, Senator Abiola Ajimobi, and her words about Nigeria's political life. She also gives her words of advice for young couples, and ultimately, she talks about her philanthropy. Her Excellency Dr. Mrs. Florence Ajimobi is the author of the book, My Life Like a Rainbow, Reflections and Life Lessons at 60. Madam, welcome to Book Splash on Splash FM.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on this program.
It's a pleasure to have you too, madam.
Thank you.
You celebrated 60th birthday very recently. I'd like you to crystallize what came to your mind on the morning of your birthday.
I'm sure you weren't at that birthday because at this church service, I said from the moment I woke up, I was just filled with thanksgiving. I just couldn't fathom what I have done to deserve all the mercies I got from God. And one song kept calling. Èmi nìkan ló yé. because I was just thanking him, and I looked at the way I was thanking him. If anybody came into that room at that time, you would not understand why I was thanking God. For me, it was overwhelming. His mercies, His grace, His faithfulness. I just couldn't understand why God favored me so much. I was filled with thanksgiving. I was filled with praises. It was one of my happiest days on earth. I was so happy because I looked back. I looked at who Florence Ajimobi was, and I was just thanking God. So that was all I was doing from morning till night. And that was why all we did on that day was just praises to God.
Wow.
There was no party. It was just an altar of praise to God.
There was no party. But
there was no party.
But there was a book.
There was a book.
My Life Like a Rainbow.
Yes.
Tell me, what occasioned the book, madam?
A few weeks to my birthday, I just thought to myself, governance is coming to an end. Younger part of your life is facing off. 60 in anyone's life is not a joke. By the time somebody is turning 60 in any society you find yourself, you're an elder. So thoughts of impacting into other people's life came into my mind. And this book is not just an ordinary book. It's a book I want people to read and be able to take out something, whether young girls, whether a young boy, whether an adult or a married woman. I want people to learn from my life, to know that determination can make a difference in anything you do. So that's what this book is all about.
Let me go into the book. I particularly find interesting this prologue part of it. I'd like to read here. As I went down on my knee to make the presentation to him, he looked straight into my eyes. He was the quintessential handsome, well-kept and dressed military man in his well-ironed uniform. Probably because of the several remarks I had heard in preparation for this particular task. In the 1 minute it took me to kneel, make the presentation and get up, I admired and stood in awe of the powerful man. I subconsciously took a decision that my husband would be a successful big man. Something about him made me also decide that I would never marry a man that carried arms or wore uniforms. Here you were just 6.
Yes.
What kind of mind did you have at that time?
A 6-year-old girl that is a love child. A 6-year-old girl that never had a father figure. A 6-year-old girl that even at that tender age knew what she wanted in life. By 6, I knew what I wanted. So looking at that man, I liked the look. I liked the gaiters showing on his uniform. I liked the way he was upright. But surrounding him were men carrying guns. Though, to a lot of people, I appear as a very strong woman. But Florence Ajimobi does not like guns. I don't like arms around me. I don't even like people carrying cutlasses. I can't even kill a chicken.
Whoa.
I can't hold a chicken. So that is just giving you a little insight into who Florence Ajimobi was. So despite the fact that I admired everything about the man, I made up my mind. But they told me he was the governor. You know, when you are going to give a bouquet to an important person, there had been a lot of rehearsals. So my class teacher had told me, the headmaster had told me what to do and what to say, that this is the governor of the state, so you need to speak out. So speaking and look into his eyes. When you kneel down, courtesy, you must look straight into it. So I was looking straight into this. I said, oh, man, this man is big that everybody has been talking about. Yes, I would love to marry somebody that is big. But hey, all these guns around him, I don't want. Even at that tender age, I knew I didn't want it.
Let me come to this part of your life. Let's leave the book out for now. I told you earlier that I've admired you from a distance for quite some time. The way I'd like to describe you, even words fail me. But then, you are just the simple, easygoing, fun-loving woman from my own perspective. But deep down, there are some things that we don't know that you might want to share with us. So who is Florence Ajimobi?
Well, Florence Ajimobi, first and foremost, is the wife of the former governor of Oyo State, Senator Abiola Ajimobi, a man that she's been married to for 39 years, blessed with 5 lovely children and 8 grandchildren. She's a woman that seeks peace passionately. It doesn't make me a coward. It doesn't make me a timid person. But as much as possible, I try to look for peace. I'm a very assertive woman, a very principled woman, but very, very hardworking. My greatest fear in life is failure, coming from my background. I hate failure. I hate people that are lazy around me, and I hate people who lie. I believe the most guiding principle in my life is the fear of God. And that is the beginning of wisdom. If you have that fear, everything you do will be in the ways of the Lord. So that guides me. But I'm a very family woman. I don't socialize that much, but hey, when I have cause to, I enjoy myself. And like I said, I seek for peace and I seek for happiness passionately, because I believe that every happy moment you've lost yesterday, every happy minute you were meant to share yesterday, you can never gain it back today. It is gone and gone forever. So why do you want to be miserable? So that is who Florence Ajimobi is in just a nutshell. But she's also a woman that loves her husband so much. I'm the luckiest woman. I've been married to the best man on earth. I say it with all sense of sincerity in me.
I will come back to that in a moment. The way I describe the book is, I said it's a down-to-earth, matter-of-fact, self-confessing catalogue of a life that couldn't have been lived otherwise. When I read it, I thought to myself, you put so much in this book that a lot of us will want to hide. Why?
Because the primary aim of writing this book is to impact into life. If I want to do that, then I don't have to hide anything. I want people to learn from my own lifestyle, from my background, from my upbringing. So why would I hide anything? If the moment I start hiding anything, then there's no lesson in this book. So the book, for me, when people say they are reading this book, I am watching a video. I am recounting a video. Every chapter in this book I can say off head, because they are true life lessons. So I don't have to, if they're meant to be true life lessons to people, then I don't have to hide anything. There's nothing to be ashamed of. What is the end product? This is the end product. From that child was meant to be a failure. This is me.
Okay, let me come to the big man himself, your husband. You have so glamorized, you so described him in very beautiful, words in this book. And he also, he doesn't, pretend about it. In many public fora, he talks about you in very glowing words. Your first meeting with him, a lot of girls would have said, this is not the guy for me.
Yes, I did. But he was persistent. He knew what he wanted. And Providence, we met again. Because ordinarily, if we had met that January 1980 and we didn't meet again, it probably would have been the end of the relationship. We met in February and I didn't like his approach. He was the typical American approach though. And again, I met him in April after my 21st birthday. So that made the difference. It means God is doing something, or God wants something to happen.
Let me go to, public perception for a moment. The cocky American returnee, the guy who is matter of fact, straightforward, and the rest of it. In this part of the world, we like the expression, they say it's political correctness. And a lot of people claim that this is a disadvantage for somebody, anybody in this part of the world, for someone to be straightforward, very direct, unpretentious, and the rest of it. In the 39 years that you've been married, I was wondering, was there any moment where you had to talk to him and say, guy, this way you are talking, can you be a little soft, or can you be a little African by the way you talk?
I think first and foremost, this guy is 10 years older than I am. He married me when I was 21 and he was 30 going 31. But for me, I have no regrets about his approach to life. This is the approach to life that made him to get to the peak of his career in the oil industry. He became the managing director. In 2003, this same approach of his, this cocky attitude of his, this arrogant attitude of his, made him become a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Wow. In 2011, even in 2007, he contested. He won that election but was deprived of his mandate. In 2011, again, he contested. He won that election. And for the first time in the history of Oyo State, I don't know what people are talking about, honestly. I think we need to sit down and tell each other home truth. Because for me, whatever has happened now is God's will. I don't believe in it's my attitude. And in 2015, again, this same man won an election for the second time, which has never happened in the history of this state. So what attitude are we talking about? This attitude has end results. This attitude for me has made me a woman that is so proud of him. This attitude has brought pride to this family. He has made me to be able to lift my head in the society, that when I talk about Abiola Ajimobi, I'm filled with smiles. This attitude, my children go to places outside of your state and people favor them. So what attitude are we talking about? Am I going to be what I am not just to please people? No, I'm not going to be. I'm going to be who I am. So Abiola Ajimobi is who he is. And whatever he is today has taking him to the peak of his career. After governor, what is left? It's either you are president or you are vice president. He's been everything. So what are people talking about? Am I going to let somebody that has never bought a land tell me how to build a house? I'm not going to allow that. Most of those people talking, they can't even contest as councillors in local government. They're criticizing. But for whatever has happened now, if you say Ajimobi he hasn't lost anything. He was meant to spend 8 years as the governor of this state, and he has fulfilled every righteousness, and that is where God wants it to end.
What does it feel like being addressed as the former first lady? Or
I don't even want the former first lady. Can people just
governor?
address me as Dr. Mrs. Florence Ajimobi? I'm so happy and contented to be that. I want to leave that title behind me because it is past in my life. I have opened a new chapter. I was Mrs. Florence Ajimobi before now, and now I'm Dr. Mrs. Florence Ajimobi, and I'm so happy. There's nothing wrong in addressing me as Mrs. I don't even want former. I have come, I have played my role, I have taken a bow. The next person is there. She will get all the support she needs. If she comes to me for support today, of course, as an older person and as a child of God, of course I'm willing. Nothing is permanent in life. The only thing that is permanent is change. Nobody can be anything forever. You can never be governor forever. You can't be senator forever. You can't even be president forever. My children cannot be children forever. They have children now. These children cannot be children. They are going to be fathers tomorrow. They are going to be mothers tomorrow. So what is permanent? Nothing.
I like your resilience, and the coping mechanism that surrounds you is very big. There's somewhere in the book here where you wrote that when he relocated to Abuja as senator, that there was one day the child made a statement that struck you, that we don't have a daddy in this house, we only have a senator.
Because he never sees him. He never sees him. He was never, in Abuja, their meetings are always late at night. When the child is going to school in the morning, the man is probably sleeping, or definitely sleeping. By the time the child comes back from school, the man is not back from work. And by the time she's going to bed, he's still not back from work. And in the morning, she doesn't see him. So, of course, this child was not used to that. She's a child that has grown to be saying daddy in the morning. When she's going to school, she comes. Even if he's sleeping, she wakes him up, she hugs him, daddy, bye daddy, and he wakes up, oh, you're going to school. And when she comes back from school, he gets home between 6 and 7, so she sees the dad before she goes to bed. But things have changed, and that is the only way she could express herself as a 6-year-old child.
Let me go back to your book, page 170. It says, in 2007, Abiola decided to run the governorship race as a lone candidate on the platform of the All Nigeria People's Party, ANPP. But despite the result, he was not declared winner. It was a very trying period for the family, as we had people of all shades around us, the friendly, the hostile, the insulters, and the envious. My husband was at the tribunal, then appeal court. Final judgment was not given till 2010. I saw people who were called to the witness box lie through their teeth, even on oath. I concluded that in politics, 2 plus 2 may not always be 4, but could be 5 or 10. In this place, I wrote a big indictment on the political class. Your husband has been in politics for decades. These are the things you see every day, right?
Yes.
What do these things say about our politics?
We still have a long way to go. It's a shame we still have a long way to go. But for me, this is the society we found ourselves in. And we're going to salvage it together. Nobody is going to leave Nigeria. I don't want to leave Nigeria, not even at 60. It's too late, even if I had the intention of leaving before. But not when I'm 60. Even when you look at my family, if you look at all my children, they all schooled abroad. But the first 4 children that have finished school, they're all here. They're all happily married here. So that shows you the kind of person we are. We want to be in this society. But like I said, in Nigerian politics, 2 plus 2 can be 5, can be 6, can be 7. This is where I know it can be. But what can I do if that is what the society I found myself in? So we play along.
For how long?
Until God says it is time.
I'd like you to tell me very briefly, what exactly do you have in this book for young couples?
Young couples?
Yes.
What I have in mind for young couples is that marriage must not be based on love. Establish friendship. Friendship is different from love. When somebody is your friend, a friend is someone you cannot do without. Love can fade. I can love you for one particular reason. And over the period of time, when those things are no longer in place, my love for you will start diminishing. But when somebody is your friend, Your friend is somebody that you shield. Your friend is somebody that you cover up. Your friend is somebody you can tell everything. For me, my husband is my friend. Even if I go out there and I steal, he's someone I can confide in. Marriages of these days is on infatuation. They just walk to each other and say, I love you. What do I love about you? Do I know you? Do I know your background? Do I know your habits? Those habits will not manifest whilst we're friends. If you go into marriage immediately and I start discovering that this man snores, he's eating habits I don't like, the love will fade away. But once I develop my relationship with you, you are my friend. You know, that friendship is the bond is tight that I can't do without you. I confide in you. So even when those habits start manifesting, you are already somebody I am used to and I can't do without. So it keeps the relationship. I want girls, young couple, to develop that relationship with their husband and make them their crown. Make them their crown. Adeori.
That language is what young girls of today don't want to hear.
They will hear. We are going to mentor them. That is our job. You know, I have finished being the wife of Mr. Governor, but I still want to continue with my service to humanity. And I want to help to save a lot of marriages. Even my kids, they come to me complaining. Can you imagine? As much as I cancel them. I have 4 girls and 1 boy. My son's wife is another daughter. So I have 5 daughters now. And I even cancel her too. We plan against my son.
Okay. So guys, you are in trouble, okay? Okay, so let's conclude, madam. You are into philanthropy. And it's one part of your person that people have talked about. What exactly did you see in humanity that pushed you to this?
I hate when I see people suffering. I hate when people cannot afford to eat, particularly children. When I see children hawking on the streets during school hours, it's like you are stabbing me. When I see people crying for medical attention, it's like I'm a failure. So these are the things that attracted me. And you know, when you talk of philanthropy, it's not just now. I mean, I knew I started it even ever before. By the time I was pregnant with my last child, that is going to be 22, I had built a motherless home. I built a classroom in the motherless home opposite UCH, owned by Mrs. Sholanke. I gave her the keys on her hospital bed in UCH and she died 2 days after because those children don't go to school. I identified with that home and I discovered over the period that they don't go to school. So I thought, this is wasted. So I was the president of Bodija Lions Club then. And as the president, you embark on a project. So I just got like 10 of my husband's friends. They gave me 500K each then. It's like giving me 5 million. And I was able to build that school like a daycare center. I furnished it. I made a borehole and everything. And so that those children can go to school. And, you know, for sustainability, I asked them to take children from neighbors, make them come to the school so that whatever proceeds they make from that, they can use it to pay the teachers that teach those children.
Is there anything you put in this book that you now think you shouldn't have put?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Thank you very much, madam.
You're welcome.
That was my conversation with Dr. Mrs. Florence Ajimobi, author of the memoir, My Life Like a Rainbow, Reflections on Life Lessons at 60. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please join me for another edition of the program Books Splash next Saturday at 2:30. Let's make it a date then. I thank you for making the moment pleasurable. And in case you have comments or queries, I can be reached by SMS through the number 0805 699 8676 or email m.olatunbosun@splashfm1055.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Tumbosun. My sound manager is Victor Daudu. I am Michael Olatunbosun. I ask you to read a book today. And please, do not dump refuse in the waterways.